you are. I hope you guys can hear me because I've got this mic on and I very rarely use the mic, even though I've had it for probably a couple of months. And I very rarely attach it because a lot of times I forget. Let's be real. I don't have the best memory. So I forget when I have some of this stuff. And then, it dawns on me that I need to be using it. And I'm gonna be honest with you too. I've not used some of these other features that are on here for YouTube. But come on in and let's talk about life after divorce and some of the things that you may deal with mentally, some of the challenges that you may experience. It's kind of bright in here. Let me just turn it down just a little bit. I don't know if I'm the only. Okay. I think that's better, right? Okay. So I'll be finagling with some stuff as we continue, but come on in and let's talk about some of the challenges. It's funny, on another social media page, they are doing this whole mental health challenge, right? And I've decided to kind of join that mental health challenge because all of us are impacted somehow throughout the different trials that we go through in life. And so I know there was a period in my life where mentally I was just off kilter. Mentally, I couldn't get myself together. Mentally, I just could not come to grips with what was going on. So I had to kind of just over overcome those challenges and let myself be open and vulnerable to people so that they would know what I was going through. Now, many of you know from looking at my videos that I'm in what is technically the living room in my parents' house. We moved back in order to help with my mom after my dad passed away. And it has been quite unique, but it is truly something that I wouldn't change for the world. So if you hear in some of these older houses, if you hear people moving, if you hear I hear people moving who are above me, I hear people, coming up and down the stairs, all my family members, it's early in the morning. Everybody's getting ready for work. Everybody's, trying to get themselves together this morning. And it's kind of difficult to kind of record and go live with so many people in the house. Hey, everybody, thank you for joining. Give me some likes, tap the screen to let me know you're there and let other people in YouTube know that I'm there. We're talking about some life after divorce topics and mental health challenges and things that really can impact us. Right now, on another social media platform, we're talking about mental health challenges and really talking about things that we can do to overcome it. And so I wanted to get on here and just also share the information with you guys, some of the things that I experienced during this process, this pre divorce, post divorce process, and some of the things that I went through too. But if you hear noise, it's because I got a house full of people. I got a house full of people and everybody's getting ready for school and or work aside from my mom cuz I'm here to help her. I'll be logging off soon in order to go to work and put some comments in. Let me know who you are. I don't see the comments popping up on the page, but I know that people are there and thanks so much for showing up. So after my ex spouse decided that he didn't want to be a father, a husband anymore, I kind of went through some mental health challenges then, realizing that the care of my family was on my shoulders, my responsibility, and it drove me kind of a little off and insane. Like I was quick to pop on people, quick to get set off, quick to, you wanted an argument, step to me when I was going through that. Let's be real. You want to fight? Step to me when your man of almost 21 years tells you he's done. Step to me and tell me and give me a critique on my appearance when I'm going through some mental health issues, right? Thanks so much for the hearts. I really appreciate it. So that really took me down for quite some time. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is wrong with me? Because then the first thing I look at is what's wrong with me, right? What am I not doing in this marriage to make this man feel like he wants to leave? And so mentally, it did something to me. Mentally, it set me off. Mentally, I had the worst challenge in the world mentally, right? And so it just really was something. I was arguing and fussing with everybody. You couldn't tell me nothing, right? Because mentally I was off kilter. Mentally, I could not comprehend how someone could just walk away, how someone could just say they've had enough. Do you know how many times in my life I felt like I wanted to have enough and I'd had enough? Somebody just tap the screen and comment and let me know if you hear me because I got this mic on and I'm hoping that I'm not just talking in the air and you guys looking at me and I'm muted, right? But somebody drop me a comment to let me know that actually I am being heard. But anyway, I literally was sitting there thinking about the times that I wanted to end certain things and I wanted to go off. Thank you, Dead Boo. I did boy. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. So I wanted to go off. I was done, but I never walked away. Because mentally, to me, the worst thing I could do was walk away. Because most people, when you walk away, you running. When you walk away, you are running from something. Thank you guys for letting me know you hear me. Tap the screen and let me know you're there. Give me some likes. I really appreciate it. Hey, Heidi, how are you? It's been a minute. I was going through some things and I'm going to get through that next, right? As far as what I've been going through. Um, with my mental health. Okay. So, one of the things I go through this, I'm arguing, I'm fussing with everybody, and this is with my ex spouse. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to just let anybody have it. I'm ready to chew someone's hind parts out. Now, most people who know me know that I'm always saying hind parts because that's my word, right? Everybody has a word, and so that's what I felt like because mentally I was unraveling, and what got to me is that nobody really saw it. Nobody really saw that I was breaking down. So when I put posts on YouTube and there are things like go through it, endure it, you can do it, you're breaking down, I know what I'm talking about because I've been there, right? And it took a while for people to realize that this so called strong woman wasn't really that strong. And it was only a few people who recognized that. I'm glad you're doing good, Heidi. Y'all continue to give me some love. Tap the screen, give me some hearts. I really appreciate you guys tuning in this early morning. So I'm ready to argue and fight with everybody. I had to work through that. I broke down. When I say I broke down, I literally, my sister, I think she started to see it first. And I literally had her, she was caring. She came up, she spent some time with me. And I just let her know that mentally, I'll be honest with you, I was suicidal, right? Now, that didn't happen because of my divorce. That didn't happen. I didn't get to that point because of my divorce. What got me, what broke me almost, was losing my dad. That almost broke me. So you got one problem that's compounded with another, something that I had no control over. So I had my ex husband who decided he didn't want to be a husband or a father. And then I lost my dad, who was one of my rocks, right? And then my kids and I are uprooting ourselves to move back in their home, right? And help my mom with her physical challenges. Can I tell you mentally how off I was? Can I tell you mentally how I was going through it? Can I tell you how mentally it was a battle? Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. Can I tell you how, after the divorce, it felt like my world was crumbling apart and I just couldn't cope, right? And so when my sister started recognizing that something was wrong with me, and she flew up here under the guise of, I think she was going to visit somebody else or do something. But behind the scenes, she knew that it wasn't really me that she was talking to, that something was going on. And she decided, you know what, let me try to give her some help. And it was during the course of her stay that I broke. Right. And I'm going to tell you what happened. So, you know how when you have one problem going on, another problem will happen, another problem. It seems like it's repetitive. Things start hitting. Right. And so I'm sitting here in the evening, I'm talking to her, and I'm already losing it. This is during her visit. My oldest daughter gets home from work, and I said, well, let me go use the bathroom after she got home. I'm so excited. It was later in the evening, and she parks her car, and somebody knocks into her car, like slams into her car. Girl fell asleep at the wheel and almost took the whole end of her car off. Now, I have auto insurance, right? So I really wasn't worried about it. But here in the US, you do have people who drive without auto insurance. So guess what? Girl had no auto insurance. My insurance I knew was going to go up because they had to cover for her. And it just compounded the problem. And I think that's what contributed to me breaking. So I was like, I can't take anymore. And I needed to be vulnerable and tell people what I was going through. So mentally, We are going to go through these challenges. And when you're going through a divorce and you feel like you're in this all by yourself, it's going to happen when you feel like you're all alone and one problem will be compounded with another, compounded with another, compounded with another. And you're sitting there like, why in the world? What did I do to ask for this? Right. And instead of letting people in, hey, how are you? Thanks for joining. Instead of letting people in, you let people out. You shut people out because if they think you're strong, they think you can handle it. You don't want them to think otherwise. I don't know when I got to this point that I had to put this mask on and let people think that I was fine and okay and that I didn't let anybody in and that if a problem came, I could handle it. Y'all continue to like the screen. Give me some love and some hearts. And don't forget to subscribe. So that's my plug, right? Because you know, I'm going to give a plug. And so I had to really start allowing myself to be vulnerable. Do you know mentally how hard that was to let people in? Because I had been burned before. I knew what it was like to trust a valued friend or someone who I thought was a valued friend, and they burned me, right? Girl, I done been through that several times. I know how that is. And so I was at a point where I wasn't trusting. I didn't want to let anybody know what I was going through and that I was vulnerable because people view me as strong. Olivia, got you. That happens to you. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can't let down this persona. Everybody runs to you because they want your help. They want you to pitch in. They want your advice. But sometimes you really just want to shut it down and you don't want to let people in. And you don't want to tell people those thoughts that you have late at night when you're up and your mind is racing, those deep secrets that you carry about how you really feel about yourself, you don't want people to know that. They'd be scared. I think there's a song that says that by Boys to Men. And I listened to that song because I understand. I understand, Olivia, what it was like to be alone. And after committing myself to my former marriage for almost 21 years, and then him walking away, and me having to lose my dad, and then dealing with finances and bills, I was completely alone. And that was not a good space for me to be in mentally. And then people are still coming to me with their problems, their problems, their problems, their problems. I'm getting hit with their problems. I had problems of my own. I had things of my own I was going through. I'm getting emotional just talking about it now. And no one saw it. No one I thought cared. I was always the problem solver. And when you're a mom, you're always the problem solver. Sometimes when you're a wife in certain situations, you're the problem solver, right? But there are times when you're the problem solver and you can't take it anymore. You need your problem solved. And a lot of my content and posts, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Sometimes you have to let yourself be vulnerable and say, you know what? I'm not taking on anymore. I'm done. I'm not. I shut it down. And I had to in order to preserve my mental health because that's what my posts are about too. Going through these scenarios in life, these experiences, these challenges are not easy. I can't tell you the things that I've been through. I will in some upcoming posts. I'll break it down even more. So continue to like, follow, subscribe, share. But I'm telling you, the stuff I went through, the stuff you've probably gone through, you could write a book. Some of us a novel. Because when you come through the other side, the whole purpose of you going through that experience, you should be sharing with someone else to encourage them and pull them up. Because there's so many women and men out there that I talk to who are dealing with these mental health challenges or dealing with these feelings and they can't express it to people. They can't tell people what they're going through. They feel like no one will understand, right? No one's going to understand the challenge that they're going through. And that's so wrong. I would hope that there's someone out there for them to talk to. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the shares. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And so, going through this whole divorce process, the things that I experienced, the identification still, I think I talked about that in another video. Being left as a single parent of 5 young people, I'm the only one working. But then that really wasn't no shock because, it's not like I wasn't supporting the family anyway. But anyway, I digress. I'll leave that where it is. And so, the things that I was going through, I really had to get myself together. Thank you, Musavi. Thank you so much. I hope that you like and subscribe and share and enjoy the content that I'm putting on. So, now what am I dealing with? Because you know what? I went through that. Like I said, I went through the divorce, I went through the scandal of adultery. Let's be real. And having to deal with that and realize what? This is where we came. This is where I wasn't enough for you, but I digress. So, one of the things that I really had to deal with, that I really had to overcome, was the feeling that I wasn't worthy, mentally looking at myself and getting myself together. The mental challenges that came with that was also something that I had to encounter and deal with, right? And so now I'm more aware of when other people go through things. If someone comes to me and they whisper in my ear, "Hi, Naomi, Naomi, how are you? Good morning." So the challenges that I deal with, the things that I have to encounter even today, I'm fine because I realize that I've just gone through a tornado slash hurricane with a hailstorm and an earthquake and some fire. All of that combined, I've been through all of that, and I still am here and I'm still able to stand and speak my experience to help somebody else. So the posts that I'm putting on, the content, it varies. I do stuff with my kids. I'll do stuff with my mom. Don't ever want to really be displayed on social media, but I do stuff as far as caregiving because of what I'm doing with her or for her. And I'll do stuff. I'll talk about my husband. I'm so excited about that, right? And so yeah, I did say husband, not ex-husband. So I'll talk about all of those posts and everything like that in my posts and my content. But really, the experience that I've had as far as the mental health challenges, going through a divorce, losing my dad, losing loved ones, even today, it's something to help other people. It's something to encourage someone else who's going through similar trials and battles, who can be encouraged. Now, I am married again. You can find love after divorce. Can you believe it? Yeah, I believe it. I can find, and I did find love after divorce. But what I took my husband through ain't no joke. I'm surprised the man's still here because he's a good man. He's a really good man. And I do believe that after you get through a divorce, that you should give yourself time to get your life together. Find out who you are before you move on to the next relationship. So for me, that was so important. Okay. That was so important for me to take time to realize what I wanted in my upcoming relationship, if I chose a relationship at all. My sister and I had this conversation last week, and she was laughing because there was a time period where I was like, I will never, ever get married again. I will never, ever get married again. I'm not doing it, right? That was my personal expression. I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't interested, okay? And so I had to get myself together because I needed to find out who I was. And many people going through a divorce or even a breakup in a relationship or loss of a loved one, when you talk about the mental health, it's so important to get that together first before you move into another level, before you move into another relationship. Because post divorce, you really do need time to analyze what went wrong in your relationship, in your marriage. Even when you break up, let's say you've been dating somebody for quite some time, you really want to make sure that you take time to really analyze what's going on and how things are being, how things went in that relationship before you move on to another one. So for the longest time, mentally and emotionally, I knew I couldn't handle it. For the longest time, mentally and emotionally, I knew I wasn't going to do it. And I said, this is not something that's for me. I even started wondering if I was even marriage material. Let's be real. I think I took time to assess the type of woman that I had become. One time I really was, oh, I'm in love with marriage. I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. And after my first experience, I didn't even know if I was marriage material. And so I had to sit back and assess what I wanted to do, which is important for all of us. And mentally, that's what you have to do. mentally, you've got to get yourself grounded to see if that's something that you want to pursue. Okay. And so once I started, and it was funny because I told my sister, I'm going to raise my kids. I wish someone would step to me. They will get laid out after what I've been through. Because remember, I told you I was bitter and I was angry and I was just ignorant. Let's be real, ignorant. And I know that's not how you say the word, but I was ignorant. Okay. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the likes. I really appreciate it. So I was ignorant. You couldn't say hi to me because I'd be like, hi, what do you mean hi? How you say hi to me? You don't know me. It was real ignorant. I was real ignorant. And so I realized that I had turned into the proverbial angry black woman. And I needed to kind of simmer down for a minute. Not every man in the world had done that to me, had offended me like my ex husband had done. Not every man was going to be like my ex husband. So, really taking the time to sit back and see who I am and what challenges I had mentally and emotionally, and working through those challenges was something that was important to me because my mental health, once again, once your mindset is changed and altered, you will be fine going through this process. Trust me. Once your mindset is altered, once your mindset has improved, and you're going through this process or even post divorce, you will be fine. And you will attract the right person because this time around, you should know what you deserve and you should know your worth, right? But you can't do that if you rebound and rebound and rebound. I had to realize I had nothing to prove to anyone. I didn't have to prove to my ex spouse that I was lovable. I didn't have to prove to my ex spouse that I could find someone. Like it didn't concern him. This was all about me and taking care of me and what I needed to do to get my mind right, right? Because the mental health challenges are real when you are going through devastation after devastation after devastation, trial after trial after trial. So you got to get yourself together mentally and emotionally. And so now I will tell you, and many of you already know this if you've watched my content, I am a Niger wife. I'm a Niger wife. And the hardest thing that I'm going through now, because I said I would touch on that later, is not having my husband here. We're going through the visa process, but not having my husband here mentally, there are days when I'm done. I can't believe it's taken this long, right? To not have my husband here. I love my husband. I want him here. And having to have such great a distance because of legally going through the process, and I said legally, we're going through the process, it's difficult for me. So there are days when I have these mental health challenges. Even today, that's not something that's going to change, right? If you think you're going to go through life and you're never going to have any kind of mental health challenges or things affect you mentally and emotionally aside from physically, then I don't know what to tell you. Some things you can look at people and you can tell they're going through it. But when it's a mental problem that they are addressing, they look fine. They look fine. You have people who are, I would term them, they're the walking, it's a term where they're functioning. They're functioning even though they're going through mental distress and trauma. And that's what makes it so dangerous. You don't know. You get up every morning, you still get yourself together. I had responsibilities and duties to take care of. So I had to take and make sure my children were okay and where they needed to be. I was the sole financial provider of my family as well as, taking care of my mom. I looked fine. I looked fine. But mentally, I could hardly sleep at night. Mentally, my mind was racing. Mentally, I was off kilter, off kilter. So after my divorce, I really needed time to figure out what I needed to do to ground myself mentally. Thanks everyone for joining. Hit the screen and say like and let me know that you're there. Comment and let me know if you're going through some mental health challenges, if you've encountered life after divorce or you're going through the divorce, some of the things that you are going through because we all are going through some kind of challenge. That's what my channel is about. If you're going through a breakup of a relationship, that you've been with this person. Sometimes people have been with them for years, decades. You've been with this person or known this person, and then you've gone through the devastation of a breakup because things are not as you really thought they would be with this person. That's difficult. That's difficult. And so what you do is you kind of ground yourself, get yourself together, take the time to really get to know who you are and what your worth is, because you're worth so much more. If you weren't lovable, you never would have been in a relationship, period. So that's the first thing, you realize that, right? If you're not lovable, then you never would have been in any kind of relationship, period. So obviously you're lovable, but it's the kind of love that you need to dictate what you value and what you think you deserve and what you're worth. Because mentally, you want to be able to be built up with your partner. You want your spouse to build you up and you want to build them up too. I love the fact, and I tell people when I got happy, when I get happy, even now, I tell them that's the effect of my husband. I'll be honest with you. That's my husband and his impact on me. My current husband is a man, right? And so I love his traits and his qualities and how he carries himself. He makes me very much feel like a woman who is cherished. And when we are together, because, like I said, being a Naja wife going through this process is not easy. But when we are together, I don't have to think. I don't have to think. And I can't tell you what a rewarding experience that is for me. I'm not used to it at all because I'm always used to being the one that has to make a decision, think through things, determine what we're going to do. But it's not like that now. It really isn't. Having him in my life is just so much better and has helped me. He has actually helped me heal mentally. And my viewpoint of love and marriage has changed because of my husband. So you can find love again after divorce. You can find love after going through something so mentally challenging. You can. It's not unheard of. Trust me. Like my sister always says, there is somebody out there for everybody. Trust me, they're there. You just really need to know how to look for them. And then if they find you, how to let them in, because that's also a difficult part when you're going through mental health challenges and you're dealing with the stresses of a relationship previously that went bad. And so, even though I wouldn't wish this experience on anybody, I know that many people have gone through similar experiences. I know that many people are dealing with the trauma of divorce. And if you have children, it doesn't make it any easier, right? If you have children, it actually compounds the problem and makes you even more difficult. It makes it even more difficult for you to be vulnerable. Hi, Scully. How are you? So, you don't want to compound the problem. You want to take the time to get to know who you are so that you can then build somebody up and build yourself up. Great. I'm glad that you're great. I'm hoping that wherever you are, you're staying safe and that you are enjoying your day. And tap the screen, give me some likes if you can, let other people know that I'm here. And so, a lot of, like I said, my content is to help people get motivated. Each of us has a different skill, trait, quality that we bring to the table, right? Each of us do. And so finding out what that is and then using that not only to better your mood and your mental health, but also to help other people, is beautiful. I met my girlfriend 3 days ago and also planned to ask her, but instead see, see, there is somebody out there for everybody. Love is a beautiful thing. But when you go through a divorce, you can think that you're not lovable, or when you go through a bad breakup, you think that you're not lovable, but there's somebody out there for everybody. There really is. Take the time to get to know who you are once again. Get that motivation and encouragement. And by all means, when you've gone through something, go through and analyze what happened in your marriage, what happened in your relationship, and see what you could do differently. I always used to say, everything is unpredictable. Yes, it is. There are some things that we can't control. I started going through something this weekend, and I'm talking to my husband, and he's helping me to appreciate there are some things I can't control, right? But there are some things that I can control. My mood and how I respond to things, I control that, right? I can't control outside influences that may impact me or things that may be unforeseen that happen to me, but I can control how I respond to it. Either I could look at it and say, this is horrible and seep further into a depression because I've been through depression before, or I can come out and try to analyze what I can do in order to work through to the next step, what I can do in order to take something out of this negative experience and make the experience a learning one for me, if that makes sense to anybody. Because when you make your life experiences, even though they're difficult, a learning experience, you'll start to understand how you should react and how you should kind of digest the information or digest the experience to make your life better. So, a lot of times when we go through things, when I've gone through things mentally, I've tried to run from it. But now my mindset is completely different. I don't run from it anymore, especially things I can't run from. I do the Caregiver Chronicles, and I tell you, one of the hardest things to watch as an adult daughter to a woman that you are absolutely in love with is to see my mom's health deteriorate. Can't even tell you mentally what that does to me. Can't even tell you how it upsets me. See, like I tell my kids, sorry, not trying to cry again. Clearly, I'm emotional. I tell my kids, you all look at her and she's grandma, right? This is how you know her. But when I look at her, I see her different. And I've said that before. I see the woman she was. I see the woman that took care of me, that used to hustle, right? The woman I would go on mall patrol with, right? When I was sick and I would run to my mom, I remember how she took care of me. Mentally and emotionally, the things that she says still resonate with me and it's formed me to be the woman that I am today. And a lot of times when I was going through those challenges mentally and emotionally, it would be her and my dad in my ear to help me get through the challenge, right? So, one of the hardest things mentally that I'm going through today is watching her health deteriorate. And so, how do I deal with that mentally? Well, I do this. I get on YouTube and I get on other social media and talk to you all about it, as well as tell my friends that are like my family, that are my tribe, and my husband, right? What I'm going through. And I spend time with her whenever I can because I need to savor every moment. That's how I deal with it mentally. And I make sure she has whatever she needs to the best of my ability because she's a phenomenal woman. And so I really have to work on that. That mentally grounds me. So find ways to ground yourself mentally. Find ways when you're going through something to make sure that you are heard and you are seen and that people understand how they can help you. A lot of people will come to you when you're going through something. They only see the surface and they say, I can help. How can I help? But I realize it's only a few, one or two that actually dive in to help. It's only a few that actually dive in to help. So when you're falling apart and you have that person who not only says, how can I help? Call me when you need help. Now, you know you ain't gonna call nobody. When you're going through something mentally, you ain't gonna call nobody. But the person that shows up at your door, the person that reaches out to you, that's the person that's going to be there to help you. And that's the person that you want to rely on and open up to and get the needed help because you need someone to level you off. I needed that and I got it. So eventually I stopped running and I stopped running from my fears and my problems. I turned around and I decided to face them and walk through them. And that's how I got myself together mentally. So I'm out of time. Thank you guys for jumping on. I really appreciate all the comments, the likes. I will be back on later this week. I'm thinking like Thursday or Friday because I do lives on other social media. In fact, I'm about to jump on another social media page right now. So I'm out of time. I want to get it done before I go to work because I work full time. This is your girl, Essie. Remember to follow, subscribe, repost, share, and drop in the comments what you've been through, how you deal with your mental health challenges. Share because we all need to be encouraged. I'll be posting more content. I'm out.